On Monday the 17th March, 70 children from rings 13 and 16 at Rancho Intermediate School went on a 5-day camp at Port Waikato. After a 2-hour journey by bus, we arrived at our destination, Port Waikato Surf Life Saving Club.
After unpacking, we started out along on a hike. We walked along the beach and around the rocky shore area.
We were all very hot when we arrived, so we went for a swim in a large rock pool.
Catherine Smith enjoys the water and splashes a friend nearby.
Miss Ford watches the children while they swim, but proves to be a little camera shy.
After our swim, we all had a run along the beach, watched the sprinting race in slow motion.
On Tuesday morning we spent time on the sandy shore looking for living creatures and doing sand modelling.
Lillian digs deep for sandhoppers as others scout around for other life.
Wednesday afternoon saw the start of our overnight camp. Mr. Matthews and Mr. Hansard took 15 boys and girls to see some farmland where we set up camp.
We soon had a fire going and a billy of water for a cup of tea.
The girls prepared the vegetables for the night's dinner as the boys collected firewood, although some preferred to fill the stream up with stones.
The menu included minced potato, peas, carrots, onions, salt, pepper and water.
After sealing the dinner pack and putting a slight hole in the top, it was carefully placed on the hot embers to cook for half an hour.
The results can be seen by the happy looks on the faces of Patricia, Rosemary, Gary and Thomas as they eat their meal. After a good night's sleep, we got up and Mr. Matthews cooked up some breakfast for us. After having cereals, Mr. Matthews prepared some minced stew. After tasting it, we decided to call it Matthew's Mess.
As the sun crept over the hills, we decided it was time to go. So we packed up and went back to the surf club where the other children were getting ready for the Pioneer Day.
On Thursday morning, Mr. Brickle had us reenact the landing of the early British settlers on the shore of New Zealand.
The 52nd Regiment marched down to the beach in order to protect the newly arrivals from Maori attacks.
Sharon's father, Reverend Millwood, gave the Thanksgiving service on the beachfront just as they did in early New Zealand history.
Captain Brickle and his regiment then escorted the settlers to new farmland where they quickly built fires and civil cottages.
Extra clothing was quickly discarded as the new immigrants found the New Zealand climate hot and the work heavy going.
The 52 Regiment skillful Bulla fought in anticipation of Maori attacks.
Mr. Campbell offers a sausage to Gary while Captain Brickle samples a newly cooked scone.
Mr. Matthews does a Lone Ranger act to impress the locals. As Matthew Lernan swings the axe.
The Maoris are coming, the Maoris are coming. Into the fort, quickly, every man to his post, yells Captain Brickle as he warns of trouble ahead. the women folk and children rush into the fort, just as the Maoris come out of the hill, waving spears and clubs.
The 52nd Regiment rise to the occasion and bravely met the invading cannibals.
Fought with great courage, but were no match for the highly trained and disciplined 52nd Regiment.
After a hard day, we found a game of soccer as much more fun than being chased around by merry warriors.
Early on Friday morning, we got up and ran down to the beach for a game of cricket.
Camp mothers prepared some super meals and we only had 3 cases of food poisoning.
Here we see Mrs. Davison, Mrs. Chevelle and Mrs. Narby, 3 of our camp mothers.
Mrs. Joss thoroughly enjoyed marmalading 150 pieces of bread.
Mrs. Avery, Mrs. Jensen and Mrs. Wakeling assist with catering and serving of food.
Each morning we had daily devotions with Mr. Brickle, who read the Bible and told us short stories.
Each night we wrote diaries, and on one night we wrote a letter back to our families in Auckland.
Before lunch on Friday, Miss Ford took us around on a rock hunt. We all looked around for interesting rocks and pebbles.
Mr. Matthews told us about the seaweed that grows around the rocky shore. There was some interesting marine life in this area. The sand dunes were a feature of the area. We learned all about the different plants that thrived in the sand dunes. After looking for more creatures in the sand, we headed back to camp to pack our gear.
At 1 o'clock we got on the bus and headed back to good old Te South.